Yesterday, I went out of the house at a little past 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and my priority was to go to a particular bank so I could pay my tuition fee for what I am hoping will be my final semester at university. It was a sunny afternoon, and I was in full anti COVID 19 gear, which consists of a face mask and a full face shield. And the face shield covers my face from my brow down to my chin, more or less. But when I got to the bank, I saw that it was closed. I knew they closed at 4 p.m., but they changed it to 2 p.m. Well, I had no choice but to return another day. February 15 is the last day of registration, but because I am enrolling only for residency, I am given the entire semester to pay for my tuition. But of course, it's best to pay the tuition right away so I can already be tagged as officially enrolled in the system and I won't have to think about that anymore. This first fail kind of set the theme for most of the errands I needed to do for the day. My next errand was to get a government document at the Philippines Statistics Office, and while I was figuring out where to park, I could see that there was a mass of people outside of the Philippine Statistics Office waiting in line, most of the people wearing masks but not observing physical distancing. I found a parking spot outside this drugstore that I usually go to, and I decided to go in because I needed some toiletries anyway. I needed a sheet mask, and I saw that they had these sheet masks from Garnier that I really like. They work so well on my skin. I use only one sheet mask a week now because ever since the pandemic and we all stayed home most of the time, my skin got better because it wasn't exposed to the harsh Philippine sun as often. But sometimes I like using a sheet mask once a week. I picked out two, one for this week and another one for next week. I also decided to find a new body wash. I like the effect of body wash on my usually dry skin. But it's hard to find a body wash that actually smells nice for me. Unfortunately, I cannot smell these because they are sealed, but this purple one sounds promising because I suspect it's lavender scented, although I can't be sure. It doesn't say here that it's lavender. I would have preferred a smaller bottle because I am the only one in the house that uses body wash, and if I end up not liking this, I don't have anyone to give this to. But when I went to pay for my purchases, the cashier could not scan the two sheet masks, so I could not pay for them. So I decided not to purchase anything, and she gave me back my loyalty card. I can just purchase the toiletries elsewhere in one single purchase and not hop. I went outside and walked to the nearby Philippine Statistics Authority with these super long lines. I was honestly a little afraid, but I had to ask what day or time they were not usually this crowded, and I was told by the staff outside that it was always like this. But he also told me that since I was a person with disability, as soon as I give them a photocopy of my identification card and this form filled out, they will usher me inside right away and I will get the document that I need right away. I didn't have a photocopy of my ID, so I decided to just return another day. The first three stops of the day then were kind of a fail, but I tried. I showed up. I stopped at a gasoline station to get gas, and then I went to the usual shopping mall where I am sure they can scan whatever sheet mask I wanted, and maybe because they have larger stocks here, maybe they have a smaller bottle of the lavender scented body wash that I wanted to try. I parked at the nearest parking space, and while walking to the entrance, I saw that these two cars were parked at the PWD, or parking slots for the persons with disability, that you can see marked clearly. These cars had no visible signs that they are PWD. In my country, we have a Magna Carta for persons with disabilities, or it's called Republic Act number 7277. It is an entire law protecting us, persons with disabilities. One of the things that this law says is that whenever a person wants to avail or use any of the facilities that are reserved, especially for PWDs, they are required to show the official documentation that they are registered PWDs. When using the PWD parking, we should display our PWD ID on the windshield. These cars had none of those. And one of them even had an incomplete license plate, the car on the left right here. That is illegal. I'm not even going to cover up the license plate numbers of these vehicles because this is evidence in my favor, and in my opinion, if you break the law, that should be public knowledge. I was frustrated and a little angry. I mean, I can walk, so I am lucky to be able to park anywhere that's available and still be able to get out of the car. But what about those people who use wheelchairs? The wide spaces of the PWD parking slots are for those people. And I think people who actually are not PWDs and who park in PWD parking slots really should be reported, and anyone who allows non PWDs to park in PWD parking slots should also be reported. So, I talked to the security guards who should be managing these parking spaces, and the guard I talked to kept on making excuses that they were undermanned, that he could assist me in parking elsewhere. He was totally missing the point, which was that we have a Magna Carta for PWDs, and he was allowing the violation of that Magna Carta. So I asked to speak to the management, and I was escorted into the offices. I explained what I saw, I showed them the evidence, and they did acknowledge that this happens a lot. So what they do is file complaints against the registered owners of these vehicles with the Land Transportation Office, which is kind of a roundabout way of doing things, and I said so. They also asked me if I had a companion because I was a PWD. I told them that should be irrelevant and a companion should not even be required because the purpose of the law protecting PWDs is so that we can retain some degree of physical independence because our disabilities already put us at a disadvantage, and the law was to sort of level out or equalize the physical environment that we have to move around in so that our disability will not be too much of a disadvantage for us. I really hope people get that. And I hope people also see that anyone can eventually become a PWD because of maybe an illness or an accident. Sometimes people end up as PWDs only temporarily, like when they need to use assistive devices for a few years while recovering from an accident. But some become PWDs for life. Just because you're born perfectly healthy does not mean you will never have a disability in your life. Well, I did my duty here to my fellow PWDs, especially to those in wheelchairs, and I will still report the incident to our PWD association here, but for the moment I had to move on with my day. But for now, regarding this matter, I tried. Inside the shopping mall, I saw these wireless earbuds that look like Apple AirPods Pros. I actually tried them out and the sound quality wasn't too good, which was expected for the price. This is only 399 pesos. I also found the lobster clips that I needed. These clips keep breaking on me. My hair is very long and the strands are very thick, and I have a lot of it. I have a lot of hair. And in my experience, even if I buy the more expensive clips with a better material, they still end up breaking in a few weeks. So what I do is I just buy the cheaper ones. I also found the Garnier sheet masks, but the version for oily skin and the dehydrated skin wasn't available. Yes, you can have oily skin that is dehydrated. Hydration is not the same as oil. I considered one Garnier mask because of the ingredients that are published in the front of it. And this aqua ring one from Mediheal, I also consider this Olay sheet mask. I tossed everything into a shopping basket while I was undecided. I looked around for a small bottle of lavender scented body wash but couldn't find any, so I decided to go to the cashier. I ended up not buying the knockoff AirPods because build quality was not good. They look like they can break in a month or two. I also decided to purchase only one sheet mask because I didn't really need the brightening or lightening properties of the Olay, and I was not sure about Mediheal. I have used that brand before, but I have forgotten the effects. Probably the effects were not so special since it was forgettable. And then the next errand was to purchase a pad or two or a few pads of fountain pen friendly paper from a school supply store called Lucky Educational Supplies. This was a tip given by a friend, and she said Lucky was near this university right here. And so I went, and I could not see the Lucky. And then I thought it could be on the other side because this street was one way. So I circled around even further and drove down that street and ended up in the same place, still not seeing Lucky. But at this intersection, at this point, while I was stopped, I looked to my left and saw the Lucky, which was right at the street that I was first in. I decided to try again. I circled around again and I ended up right outside Lucky and saw that there was no parking space available. Well, I could not go in, of course. I could go another day, or I could maybe just go another day where I can park somewhere far and then walk, but I could not do that today. But I showed up. Again, I tried. The last errand of the day was supposed to be a visit to the store of a friend of Jawide and me. Her name is Rosa, which is actually a schoolmate of Jawide's mother. So, out of respect for her age, we call her Tia Rosa, or in Bicolano intonation, Cha Rosa. But Jawide told me that she was probably already closing up. She closes early because of the pandemic, so I decided to just go home. The matter isn't urgent. She's there every day. I just have to go there early. On the way home, I saw that there was a police checkpoint and there was also a rooster in the middle of the street. You might find this strange, but in my country, nothing is strange anymore.